Oh, just a second.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the FPL Banger Show, the World Cup edition. This is our preview for match day 1 of World Cup Fantasy. My name is Siva. I'm joined by Sam. Sam, are you excited? The World Cup is here.
Yeah, the fever is finally kicked in. I've made about 4-5 different World Cup drafts today. So yeah, it's here. It's here. Let's go.
All right, so, bear with us as we may sort of, badly pronounce a few names or get some things wrong, but we're all learning here. We're doing our best. I think we all start from similar sort of stands of knowledge vis-a-vis all these teams, right? So we've got some charts here from 11FI, which you can find him on Twitter, retweeted his stuff, and they do a lot of great stuff here. So projected goals scored, it just gives you an idea of teams to target. So Sam, going into the World Cup, right, I think it just helped to sort of kind of be a bit of a casual, right? Don't come in with any impressions about teams. Sort of just look who are the favorites to win and target those teams, right?
Pretty much, I guess, because we have zero stats to go on. Sure, you can take the friendlies. You could go as far back as the Euros, maybe, but honestly, nothing that happens before the World Cup matters, We've seen it time and time again. Teams coming in good form gets knocked out in group stage, blah, blah, blah. So just got to take it as it goes, man.
Yeah, I think I sort of look back to previous tournaments and I remember, for instance, I think, what was it, 2018, right? Germany came and then got knocked out in the group stages. In fact, the defending champions have typically done very badly in the last few editions, right? 2014, Spain got knocked out at the group stage. 2010.
I think the last last five World Cup winners got knocked out at the group stage. And the only one who didn't got knocked out in the round of 16. So
yeah,
doesn't look good.
And it's not like they had particularly hard groups. I remember Italy and New Zealand being in the same group and Italy still went out. So you look at France have Australia this time round. And we're all, even I'm kind of assuming it's going to be France. They got to do well, right? It's Australia. Like, you've not heard of any of these players from this Australian squad. Half of them, in fact, they don't have any Premier League talent as they used to. No Kewell, no Viduka. Now it's, Matt Ryan, basically.
Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Is Harry Sutter not in the squad, isn't he?
Oh, you know more than me, Sam. I'm impressed.
I think he's Australian. I'm not sure.
They have Aaron Moy, who is now playing at Celtic.
Aaron Moy.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not even in the Premier League now. Okay, so you don't have anyone.
Yeah. So I think it's sort of, you need to, I don't know, it's quite tough. This is quite tricky. You can go into too much of an impression. Like, my first initial impression is England are a bad team. But then I look at the teams they're facing and maybe England actually could do well. You've got Iran, USA, Wales. All of their teams on paper don't look great. Honestly, England, all Champions League caliber. In fact, I would say this is probably one of the strongest England teams, despite the negativity about Southgate and his tactics, which are bad. On paper, this is probably the strongest England team I think you and I have seen in, 10, 20 years?
Don't really agree with you on that. But I guess generally, yeah, they do look like a strong team. They could be stronger, I think, if it wasn't for some injuries, but you could say the same about a lot of other teams, France especially. I think the loss of Pogba and Kante will really hurt them because their only midfielder with more than 10 caps right now is Rabiot. Yeah. And, the rest are all young players. And experience matters, right, in the World Cup, I think.
It's a good point, right? So France don't have any of the midfielders who went with them to 2018. Their current midfield, so they had Pogba and Kante who carried them to the 2018 World Cup. No Pogba, Kante this time. In fact, they've got Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Rabiot. You'd expect them to be in the starting lineup. None of them played 4 years ago. In fact, they weren't even playing at Euros 1 year ago, right? None of these were starters except for Rabiot, I think. But at the same time, again, so much guesswork here. Youth isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? You see a lot of people who come to World Cups with very few caps. If you recall England's squad at 2018, Pickford had 3 caps going into that tournament. He won't even have settled number one, but he was really good. Miroslav Klose came into, I think, 2002 with 3 caps. Again, no experience, but then blew everyone away. Thomas Müller in his first tournament in 2010, really young.
Klose only does well in the World Cup and then he disappears for 4 years. Comes back, scores 5 goals in the World Cup, disappears for 4 years.
Yeah, that's all we want, right? We're not concerned with consistency here, right? We want to get those guys. And a lot of people we're going to dismiss, like, you have to sort of park that, I think. Don't dismiss people because of club form. You see somebody week in, week out, and they're rubbish. Like, I'm thinking people like maybe your Gareth Bales,
Harry
Pulisic.
Are you saying we should get Harry Maguire?
Do you know that Harry Maguire is the second top scorer for England in the qualifiers?
Wow, I did not know that.
Set piece threat, man.
That's true.
He's tall, he's big, he's got a massive head.
He does. Yeah. So I'm really bullish on Trippier too. Anyway, I think we're going bits and pieces, right?
Yeah, we're just spitballing, right? Okay, so you can see we have a chart here if you're watching the show, but even if you're listening, right, we've got top teams for projected goals scored, and I think this is a good sort of barometer of what, you need a starting point, right? Who are the good teams, who are the bad teams, at least on paper. You got Brazil at the top, Netherlands, Belgium, Spain, Germany, France, Argentina, Portugal, and then Ecuador, Denmark, Croatia, England, Switzerland. England quite low here, but then I think that makes sense given
Ecuador higher than England? Wow.
Style of play. Although Ecuador are not particularly attacking, but maybe also the teams they're facing. I think a lot of people have rated Qatar really lowly in terms of stats. We'll come to defensive stats later. And I think there's maybe some issues there because you're sort of underrating the host, but they have fairly poor records. I'm just going to rattle off some stats here before we get into like specific groups and teams and players, right? So CONMEBOL, I thought CONMEBOL is a fairly good guide. South American qualifying is one of the hardest, I think, out there because they play something like 10 teams, only 4 slots plus 1 playoff slot, and it's all top quality teams. Neymar is top scorer there, 8 goals, 4 assists in 10 games, which is really good.
Games.
Then you got Suarez, Lautaro, Lionel Messi, Richarlison, and Valencia, so Ecuador. Talisman, and Valencia, if you remember Sam back from West Ham days. Still going strong.
I remember.
Yeah. So the guys with pedigree here, you look at the UEFA stats, Kane, top of the charts. Memphis is expected to be missing for the first game. So probably leave him out. They're expecting Vincent Janssen. Don't know if people remember the former Spurs guy.
Spurs, yeah. Spurs backup. He was 7.0 in FPL.
Yeah, he's 6.5, I think, in World Cup Fantasy, which is not too bad. You got Lewandowski, Mitrovic, Griezmann, Ronaldo, Lukaku.
Mitro also expected to miss out, right?
Mitro also expected to miss out. Actually, it's a good shot. I should have noted that. Lukaku expected to miss out, and I thought something very interesting today. Batshuayi is expected to start, and Batshuayi has got really good stats, actually. 3 goals, 3 assists in the last 6 games, all Nations League games, so this is strong opposition. He's scoring quite regularly in Turkey. He's now playing there, Europa League as well. Small chance of pens because Lukaku's not going to be there. So between De Bruyne and Batshuayi, I feel like Batshuayi has taken pens this season. De Bruyne, hates pens. So something to think about. Of course, they've got Tielemans, they've got Hazard, they've got a lot of people. 6.5.
I'm surprised to see Bale here in this list. I thought his influence has been waning because he's old. Like, he's still a good leader in the team. But 5 goals in 7 matches, that's still pretty good.
It's Gareth Bale, man. I mean, to be fair, this also includes playoff matches, so they had to play extra matches. But it's just Gareth Bale. He shows up for these sort of occasions. Now, you had this chart, Sam. Maybe you want to talk us through, this is players who've got the best goals per cap rate. And anybody here, stands out to you.
Yeah, okay. So for the people listening without video, we have a little chart here. And it shows, the top 20 players with the highest goals per cap. So goals per international appearance, arriving in Qatar. And number 1 is Harry Kane. Although, stat padding against San Marino and stuff like that may have affected it. But 51 goals in 75 games. Below that, Lukaku, who we always knew is a really strong goal scorer for Belgium. 68 in 102. Mitro is third. which is really impressive. I had Mitro in all my drafts until the announcement came that, he's going to miss the first match. But I would love to have Mitro. I think he's going to do well. 50 goals in 76 caps. Very impressive. Jonathan David is fourth. So maybe a big wildcard pick this World Cup. 22 goals in 34 games. So that's pretty impressive. Neymar's down at fifth. 75 in 121. Ronaldo's below that. 117 in 191. Harry Suter, who I mentioned earlier, right? So I googled which club he played for, and it's Stoke. He plays for Stoke in the Championship. Yeah, so he's plays for Australia. 6 goals in 10 caps, so not a really big sample size, but still could be an outside shout. Lewandowski is below that. Nabri is below Lewandowski. And then we got Batshuayi. So you may be on to something there, Siva. Still pretty high. 26 goals in 47 caps. Really impressive. Higher than Lionel Messi, who has 90 in 164. Martinez is 2 spots below. So Depay is there. I don't know. I don't have to go through the whole list, right? There's a lot of players, but...
No, but
Valencia is there.
Valencia is
there.
Almoez Ali
there
from
is,
Qatar.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that there is correlation to what the previous chart that is shown, right?
Yeah, and I think while some of these guys, like you say, stat padding against weaker teams, but especially for the big teams, right? Who, like Argentina, play Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is not as bad as we remember them. I don't think they're at the stage where they were losing 8-0 to Germany, that sort of Saudi Arabia. But still, the strongest teams, they've got a chance of stat padding against some of the weaker teams. You can see that gap, and these are the kind of players you want to target because they've just proven goal scorers, the kind of people who will rack up those goals.
Yeah. And that's what you want. You want the flat track bullies, right?
Yeah, because
that's
you don't
get the fantasy points.
Yeah, and you only got 3 opportunities here, so you got to sort of, shoot your shot, just go for it now. Projected clean sheets we have here also from 11FI. I thought this is useful to look at. It's largely going to correlate to the goal scorers chart, although you can see England's a lot higher here. So England's 4th, behind France, Argentina, Brazil. You got Portugal, Netherlands, Spain, Denmark. So heavy emphasis, basically Brazil, Argentina, and then the European sides you can see here. Not much to say here. I think let's get into groups and players that we are planning to target. Now, we're not going to go through all the rules of the game. I think, you can go and read up on them. Fairly similar to UCL Fantasy, with some exceptions and some things we just nobody knows about because the rules are very badly drafted. I think they're translated from French or something. So no one really knows everything. We're not entirely sure if you can change, say, captains from game to game to game each day. We are assuming you can at very least change them from each calendar day. So say on a Monday to a Tuesday. No one knows you can change from fixture to fixture. So have that in mind. We're also not sure how many times you can change captain. If you remember Euro Fantasy, you had unlimited changes like, Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday until the end of that week. Here we are assuming that is the case, but the rules suggest it could also just be 2 changes max. Long story short, I think be careful. Don't mess about too much with your first captaincy. Don't captain some random dude. Don't captain Maguire or something. Oh, maybe you captain Maguire. He looks quite good. Shall we talk to the position, Sam? I think since we got to have some structure, we're usually quite good on structure, and I've been all over the place here. So shall we start with forwards and then work our way down?
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So
forwards.
What we've got here is FDR charts for all the groups, which we've taken from nevermanagealone.com. And I thought it's pretty useful to see not just what is good fixtures, but how good is a good fixture, right? So you can see Argentina v Saudi Arabia has the highest rating here. So that shows you just how good a fixture it is versus, say, France v Australia, which is good, but maybe not as good. So bearing that in mind, I think at the premium end of strikers, very easy targets for me, and have been in all my drafts, Lionel Messi and Lautaro Martinez. So both had 7 goals in qualifying. In fact, Lautaro had more assists in qualifying. He's only 8 million. Messi's, I think, 10.5. Messi's got pens, got free kicks, assist potential. Don't have to tell you all those things that he has. And Lautaro, he didn't play in the most recent friendly, but I think that's just the rest. He's always been a typical starter. And Argentina on some amazing unbeaten run, like not lost in 35 games. So is that something you'd be going for, Sam?
Messi, I really like. Club form has been amazing. Transferred it to international, and then there's a whole narrative going on, right? Like this might be Messi's last chance to win a World Cup, so you want some of that. You know what I mean? Lautaro is a good shout, actually. I've confessed if it wasn't for you, Siva, on Twitter, shouting Lautaro Martinez, I probably would not consider him. I don't know if I want to double up. Although, like you said, the fixtures we only have 3 fixtures, right? So you might as well, the only thing you can do is do a fixture play, right? That's all you have right now. So, yeah, it's a good shout.
All right, but aside from those guys, right? So moving aside from Argentina, who else would you be looking at to target?
I like Neymar. Neymar, historically, traditionally, really, really good for Brazil. It's crazy that he's the same price as Vinicius Junior because they both play in the same position. So I'm not sure. See, the thing is about Brazil, right? Although everyone predicts them to do really well, no one really knows their front line, and there's so much quality they can rotate it around. The only person you can really be sure who will start almost every game will be Neymar, right?
Yeah.
You got Vini, you got Gabriel Martinelli, who maybe a step down, but still capable replacement if they need to rotate. Up front, Richarlison, Gabriel Jesus. On the right, Anthony will be competing with Rodrigo Goes, and they have one more right winger. Can't remember his name. But yeah, you know what's the weird thing? Only of all these players, only Anthony is classified as a midfielder. I don't get it. Every single one of them. Rafinha. That's it. That's the last player I was looking for.
Was also one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, every one of them are forwards except for Anthony for some weird reason.
Yeah, it's really annoying. Like I'm quite excited about Richarlison because he's got a great goal scoring record for Brazil. I think it's something like 17 goals in 34 games, which is really good. So like a goal every other game. But I have no confidence that he's going to start. And even if he does start, I have no confidence that he plays 90 because they literally have 10 people they could bring on to take his place. So
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I know he's expected to start. When people draft out their best Brazil 11, they always put Richarlison as the striker. But will he start every single game? You know what I mean? Will Gabriel Jesus be on the bench for all 3? And the matches are really close, right? So you can expect some rotation.
Yeah, this is one of the most compressed World Cups ever because of fixture timelines and where we're playing it. So, like you say, I think rotation could be a factor. And surely Brazil haven't taken 9 attackers just to play 2 guys the entire time, right? You'd have to expect some level of rotation. And yeah, so I'm with you. Like I feel like if you're gonna get a Brazil attacker, I think you do it right. Get Neymar, and I think everybody else is a punt, and I don't see why you'd spend 10.5 for Vinicius. I think that's definitely questionable. And I'm not confident on Richarlison. I think if you're buying him, you are hoping that he starts. And I don't think Serbia is that easy a fixture to take a punt. Maybe I'm being wrong here. Brazil are good, but they've not played a European side for something like 2.5 years because of the way CONMEBOL works. They don't get to play European sides anymore as much as they used to. Serbia, pretty decent, beat Portugal a few months ago and forced them into the playoff. They got the automatic qualification. It's not a bad team, I think.
Yeah. That's true. Although, every single odds checker, whatever you call it, all put Brazil to just sweep through their group.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's a catch-22, like we said. The reason why everyone says they're good is because they have such a good squad outside of the 11. They have such a good, 25, but at the same time, that makes it bad for fantasy because you don't know where the points are going to come from.
Yeah.
Except for Neymar.
Exactly, so I think Neymar's the safe pick here. Looking at other attacks, right? So we've talked about Argentina and Brazil. I think those are the easier ones to deal with. Now let's try and go down to some of the more, it's not controversial, but the trickier picks, right? So England, France, and maybe Spain, right? So England, first of all, do you think, I'm starting to see Kane in a lot of drafts, and I think that's just sort of the natural cycle. Start of the week, everyone was very negative, and as time progresses, we all sort of, maybe they'll do okay. Iran, USA, Wales, all on paper solid fixtures, and Kane, unlike all these other guys, has no competition, right? There's no way he doesn't start. He probably plays 90 in each game as he did in the Euros. What do you think?
Yeah, solid, but as a whole, I agree with the odds that we showed a few slides ago that England don't look like a team who will score 2-3 goals every game, very pragmatic style. So I'm bullish on the defense, but not so much on the attack. Kane is one of the most expensive players in the game. So do you want to spend 11 mil on someone who will just get 1 goal every game?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's my concern as well. That's kind of why I think the upside there doesn't feel as high as it should be. Maybe we are painting a bad picture, but that's what the odds say as well. What about France and maybe Spain, Sam? So France against Australia, really good fixture to open with, right?
Personally, I'm avoiding France completely. I have 0 French players in my team because, World Cup winners curse. They're going to go in the group stage, so going to get a bit. But also, on a more logical level, I really, really do think that the loss of the experience of midfield players will have a big impact on France. So yeah, no France players from me at all.
Big shot.
May eat my words, but we'll see. There's so many good players, you know what I mean? Like, I can barely fit anyone I want because everyone is a forward and we only have 3 forward slots.
Yeah, to be fair, the only French player that anybody is going to have, I think, at this rate is Mbappe, because Benzema's carrying that knock and he hasn't trained so far this week, so everyone's a bit scared about him. So, I mean, even if you miss out on Mbappe, there's enough good forwards, right? We only have 3. I think you can cover elsewhere. Although I'm personally planning to have Mbappe as my 12th man. So there's a chip where you can have a guy for just a week. So I'm thinking Mbappe as a 12th man. I think that's a pretty common strategy. It's a bit templatey. I'm a bit annoyed that other people are doing it. But you get to sell him off for Denmark. France lost to Denmark in the Nations League a few months ago. So that's a nice way of getting it out. And then maybe getting back in later down the line. Spain and maybe Poland, Sam. I mean, I'm pretty interested in Poland because they're...
Lewandowski,
his goal scoring record is pretty decent for Poland. They're not a very good team.
It's Lewandowski, you know what I mean? He scores goals wherever he is.
Yeah, and this is proper talisman theory, right? I mean, they've got nobody else. Their entire, fate rests upon getting the ball to him. Mexico, Saudi Arabia, and then Argentina in their final fixture. That's how it's lined up. So I think Mexico and Saudi Arabia, 2 decent fixtures to start off. 10 million for Lewandowski. I guess that's what's putting people off, right? It's not a major nation and you're spending 10 mil on an attacker.
Yeah, exactly. Feels like a lot. I feel like his reputation maybe precedes him. So I'm certain he'll score some goals in the World Cup, but enough to justify 10 million, I'm not so sure about that.
Okay, so what about maybe let's look at Spain and any other countries that you were planning to target with your forwards?
I don't even know who is Spain's striker.
Nobody knows.
Morata?
It should have been Morata, but Morata is apparently got a knock and he may not be back for match day 1. That's what today's report said. In fact, he's not starting today's friendly. I believe Asensio is starting. Asensio is a midfielder, 8.5, and he may be starting in some sort of false 9 role. They've got Ferran Torres, Sarabia, Nico Williams. They've got far too many players, and I had no idea. Enrique is very, he likes to experiment a lot. So actually, that's putting me off Spain, although Costa Rica, I think, is a very good fixture. I looked at Costa Rica's team today. So they were 4.
Keylor Navas still their keeper?
Keylor Navas is still the keeper. I mean, he's a good keeper, so let's not get that wrong. I think they had the best or the second best defensive record in the CONCACAF qualifying. But their team is comprised of really old people, like Brian Oviedo, who was on FPL like 10 years ago. Brian Ruiz, who was also on FPL 10 years ago. Joel Campbell, who never made it to FPL because Arsenal never played him. Like, it's basically the same squad they had 4 years ago. They just made it out of CONCACAF. They were 4th. They had the playoff against New Zealand, which they won. They had 4 shots in that entire match, and they won that game with 30% possession. So that's the kind of team you're playing. Costa Rica are not going to go forward. They're going to sit back and just wait. I think for a Spain side, with all the talent they have, it's a good fixture, but again, don't know who will start, and that's a bit tricky.
Yeah. It is an issue, right? I don't know, I'm scrolling down. I don't really see anyone. Gareth Bale is a forward. Oh, man. Bale's a forward at 8 mil. It's like we said, we only have 3 slots, but so many options. So unfortunately, like a part of you might think, hey, let me take a punt on this guy. But if you want Messi, you want Neymar in, that's then you don't really have anyone else.
Yeah, it's hard. There are
slots.
enough established players to fill up your 3 slots. Then to try, well, the punt I said was Batshuayi, right? So you look at that fixture ticker, Canada, Morocco, and Croatia. Like, that's as punty as I would go. Beyond, like, from Lautaro, which already feels kind of punty because didn't play in the friendly. Who knows, right? We haven't heard anything, but they've got Julian Alvarez on the bench. Like, they could always play him. So that's a slight fear that's nagging me now because we're not going to get much more team news. This isn't FPL. We've got to lock in your teams by Sunday. So Belgium v Canada is about as punty as I'll get. Batshuayi. I'm not seeing Darwin Núñez, maybe Korea to open with.
Possibly. Is he a guaranteed starter? I don't know.
They are not starting Suarez and Cavani. No. I mean, he will start. But he may not play like number 9, right? He might play off Suarez, like on the wing, left wing kind of thing. I think the issue with them is their second fixture is Portugal. And I mean, unless you're going to go in for 1 week and then go on. And I don't think Korea is that bad that I would target them. Uruguay have been decent, not great.
Yep, so not many options, I think.
Okay, so who's your front line, Sam? Your top 3 picks as of now. I mean, we're going to change this like 20 times before we get to deadline, but
Messi, Neymar, Depay, but then subject to is it confirmed?
Van Gaal says he will not be ready to start. Even he has said he won't be ready to start.
In that case, I will have to relook at my team.
Unless he's lying to us, to be fair. I mean, I've got Messi, Neymar, Lautaro, and Mbappe as the 12th man. So I think you can't really, at least on paper, go wrong. But you don't rate France, Sam. So I'm a bit scared now.
I don't rate France at all.
Yeah, but surely you're not rating Australia anyway. Let's move on. All right.
Yeah, my last follow spot will be decided later on, I guess.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what punt you'll take. I think there's a lot of room to be creative if you want to be. Just it's a short game. It's not FPL. You can sort of take some punts and have some fun. Let's talk midfielders. So I think midfield is a complete disaster. Like this in this game, you got De Bruyne, who's 11 mil. Bruno, who is 9.5. So I'm guessing this game was created about 2 years ago. Like nobody wants Bruno Fernandes. Why is he 9.5? He's the second most expensive mid. And then you've got 200 players, half of whom you won't know, and the other half you probably wouldn't want to pick. Who are you looking at, Sam?
De Bruyne, of course, right? Quality everywhere he goes, and on form for Belgium. I mean, he's just doing De Bruyne things. De Bruyne does De Bruyne stuff. So he's my only pick because he's like the only premium in the midfield bracket. I had Sane for a lot of my drafts, but I decided to take him out in the end because I just could not fit him anymore. The reason being is not that his form is particularly great, but it seems like he's the only natural left winger in the team. So he's somewhat guaranteed to start.
Leroy Sane,
Yeah, Sane. Because Musiala kind of plays in the middle, but he contends with Muller, who is not really fit, but maybe there. Kai Havertz played in that AM spot in the most recent friendly, so it's a minefield. Havertz can also play as a striker, but it seems like in the left wing, that's only Leroy Sane. So I had him in a lot of my drafts. I did take him out though, and I decided to go for the budget route of Joshua Kimmich. I think since the point system is following UCL, I'm gonna do that whole get DMs and just hope that they make a lot of tackles enough to score the points, So yeah, Joshua Kimmich. I have Di Maria. I have Wabi Khazri, who is just a bench fodder. But he starts at 4.5, and if I'm not mistaken, he is the penalty taker for the team. So I mean, I'm not expecting much, but 4.5. You just need someone who starts, I guess. Some tackles here and there, that's enough to get points, This, for those of you who don't play Champions League Fantasy and only play Premier League, so you do get points for tackles. They call it ball recoveries, right?
Yeah, here it's called tackles, but yeah, same thing basically, yeah.
Yeah, so you can get points from DMs. You can finally pick some DMs. So
you also get points for key passes, which is not for like De Bruyne. I'm guessing that's what 10 key passes a game or something. I mean, he's going to rack up points. Kimmich is a pretty decent shot because he's got set pieces as well, takes all the corners. So that's not too bad at all.
Yeah.
7
And
mil.
Neil in the team, you know. So,
Yeah, I think he is Neil. I think Kimmich has to start because he's the best DM. I mean, he's the only DM they have. You know, like Gundo's not a proper holding midfielder. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So that's it. Oh yeah, Steven Bergwijn.
Yeah, Steven Bergwijn. Yeah, he is OP forward for Netherlands, and Van Gaal has sort of
apparently
transformed him.
right.
No, I've been watching Bergwijn for the last year. I've been waiting for this moment because Van Gaal has engineered this whole thing. He started him even when he was at Spurs and no one touched him at Spurs. He forced him to move back to Holland. He told him this is for the good of your career. It's the same way that he stopped Timber from coming to United. Van Gaal has engineered all this from the start. So he really loves Bergwijn. Bergwijn wasn't even in the Euro squad. Van Gaal has forced him back in, made him a striker, and he's pretty decent. Like he makes the runs, he gets the shots in, and with no Depay in the first game, outside chance he has pens. I don't think it's a guarantee because they've got Steven Berghuis and other guys who can take pens. Vincent Janssen, if he starts, has a great pen record. But, you never know. And 7 mil for somebody playing up top for Netherlands, who are really good in qualifying, not a bad shot at all, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my midfield. What's yours, Siva?
I mean, I've been moving on a lot of people. Like you say, De Bruyne's a good pick. I still have Leandro Trossard, and I know a lot of people have decided that he's a minute's risk and you can't touch him. But I think, first of all, he's 5.5 mil, which I think is a really low risk given he's plays for Belgium, right? Like a Belgian attacker at that price. Martinez has never really trusted him as a starter, but I think they have enough injuries that he has a shot. There's also a lot of momentum on his side. Like, I'm a bit of a nerd, so I listen to a lot of localized sort of content. So I listen to a lot of Belgian-ish pods, guys who do it in English, and read a lot of their content. And their entire sort of narrative leading up to this World Cup is that Leandro Trossard must start. Like, they have a whole movement in the same way that there was like a James Maddison movement to start, get selected for England. That's all everybody's talking about on Belgian Sky Sports. Leandro Trossard must start. Hazard was questioned about it, and he said, if I was picking, Trossard would probably start, but it's not up to me. Trossard himself has said, I think it's up to the coach. Today, I think the Belgian king recorded a video where he was doing the Trossard celebration. Like, this is a country
the binoculars one.
He did the binoculars thing.
Okay.
I think there's enough sort of pressure, and Martinez is anybody who knows Roberto Martinez is very stubborn. The fact that he's still playing Alderweireld and Vertonghen, who are both like 37, he still starts them, even though they've got Wout-Faes and... Wout-Faes, the Leicester defender, only has 1 cap for Belgium. He's 24 years old. He's not young. It's just because Martinez is so resistant to change. But I think there's enough momentum, and we get another friendly. I think Belgium play tomorrow against Egypt. So if Trossard's starting that, I think you've got no reason not to go for him at that price. 5.5 mil, I think that's a very good punt to take. Form of his life, right?
Really, really good shout, I think. Really good shout.
So, not rocket science there, I think. Other people I'd be looking at,
Valverde?
Valverde is an option. I feel like for Uruguay, maybe he's a bit more defensive, like he has a bit more duties defensively, whereas Madrid, he gets to sort of do whatever he wants and take shots from everywhere. But he's in form, that always helps. He's shooting from distance and scoring goals. So that's nice. I think I wouldn't touch anybody from England because no idea who starts.
I did consider Declan Rice, who I think could be an underrated pick. One of those where, gets 5-6 points at every game because of the tackles. Yeah, he's only 6.5, I think. And he's nailed to start because we don't have anyone else.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Outside shout, Declan Rice.
I generally hadn't... I've considered people from Qatar, and I haven't, whose names are probably already forgotten. I've not considered Declan Rice at any point, but okay, that's interesting. Okay, I guess if you just want a reliable starter who's going to get tackles, it's not the worst shot, I suppose, and maybe you get lucky
for the price, for the price.
Yeah, I think it is.
Of course, he's more expensive than Trossard, so I'll give you that.
Is he? Oh, okay, okay.
He's 6.5.
I think at 6.5, I would consider Piotr Zielinski from Poland. Very good season
also
with Napoli. Yeah, not having the best... his record for Poland isn't great, but good season for Napoli, attacking midfielder on some set pieces. I think that's pretty decent. Christian Pulisic...
And tackles.
Which is kind of why I like KDB as well, because he'll make the occasional tackle. he has to do that in City. And Kimmich is a very good shout from you. Christian Pulisic, USA, 7.5 mil on pens. The LeBron James of soccer.
I I kind of really like Aaronson.
Brendan Aaronson, I think he's 6.5, I think, if I'm not wrong. That's not too bad a shot.
Yeah, something low. But I feel like Aaronson is more involved in everything. I don't know anything about US, but just from watching him play at Leeds, it seems like he's the type will be involved in everything, which looks good. Key passes, some tackles here and there. Whereas, I don't know how good Pulisic is for US, but in the Premier League, he goes in and out, right? He appears in the game, disappears for a period. So
he's good for US.
Maybe not.
I watch the USMNT pretty, from time to time. He's good. Only thing is, US as a whole have not been very good recently. They lost to Japan in their most recent friendly, and they had 4 shots in the entire game. Pulisic didn't play that game. Aaronson did. So, there's a lot of negativity around the US camp. Again, all of this stuff may go away by the time we come to the matches itself. But yeah, so that 7.5 mil is a lot when you consider 7.5 you could get Perisic, who is a nail starter for Croatia, unlike other places. Modric, 8.5 mil, set pieces, tackles, free kicks, and penalties.
Christian Eriksen is 8 mil. I had him in a lot of my drafts because, he is talisman for Denmark, I guess.
Yeah, that is
and
very decent.
In form, in form.
Okay. Actually, I've seen Eriksen a lot of drafts, and that brings me actually to another Denmark player. Denmark's got a lot of good players. Skov Olsen, who I've owned in Champions League fantasy and in other games as well. He's got, I think, 5 goals in qualifying. He usually starts on the left. Might get subbed off, but very attacking and only 6 million. So I think with their opening fixture as well, I think they played Tunisia. So that's a very decent shot, I think. Anybody else we have? Oh, Angel Di Maria.
Yeah, Di Maria.
I'm so bloody annoyed he scored.
Assists too?
2 goals and an assist yesterday, and I was so annoyed because before that his ownership was sub 10%. Now it's up to 15%. Like everybody's on him, which is really annoying. But he's a good pick.
Yeah, great pick. The pricing is so weird, right? You have Xavi Simons, who is 7 mil, who has not even have 1 cap for Netherlands. He's gonna make his debut during the World Cup. They priced him at 7 mil. I don't know what's up with this pricing system, man.
I don't know if you noticed that, but a lot of the players were added 2 days ago. They had the wrong sheets, they had Guehi and Reece James. They still have them there, by the way. And I think whichever intern was on duty just that's great. I'm just going to put in some random prices and just get it on here. So you've got Cameroon have all got players at 7 mil. No offense, no one's picking anybody from Cameroon. But then you've got Trossard at 5.5. So.
Well, it's good because it could weed out some casuals who didn't even know that they're, some casuals who picked Reece James didn't know that he wasn't called up.
Yeah, that's my hope. That people pick Reece James and Mark Guehi. So many people who are not called up who are in these squads. Shall we move to defenders now? Okay, so we just had to cut there for a bit, but we're back now. And as we stopped recording, Sam, Spain playing Jordan, and I mentioned Alvaro Morata wasn't fit to start. Asensio starting up front, he has an assist. And Ansu Fati playing on the left wing, 7.5 million forward. Really annoying. Why is he a forward? But he just got...
Really annoying. If he has a midfield, I'll be all over that, I think. Because Fati, I think, should start. He's been really good. Even for Barcelona, whenever he's fit, he starts, he scores. Just, injury issues and things like that. Oh, man. It sucks that he's a forward.
Yeah, but Asensio is a midfielder, 8.5 mil. He's sort of playing a false 9/false 10 role. It's something to think about. Costa Rica, it's just that the second fixture is Germany, right? And maybe here's something I think we sort of macro, before we get to defenders. Maybe just talking about your strategy, right? My initial thought is I would like to get players as far as possible who have 2 good fixtures to start off with. Because that way, first of all, limits my transfers. Because you get 2 transfers. And I don't really want to be making, 6 transfers in my first week, taking hits. This is too short a game to take hits. You won't recoup them back typically. And at least if you get 2 good fixtures, then in game week 3, if there's a lot of rotation, you can consider wildcarding. If there isn't rotation, your team's fine either way. But I like having guys who have 2 good fixtures versus 1 good fixture or 1 really bad one.
I agree. But like you said, it's such a short game and it's really hard unless you pile up on some teams. But I don't know, is that putting too many eggs in one basket?
I think this game is all about putting eggs in baskets and sort of you have to gamble, right? So for
Just
instance,
hoping that you put them in the right basket.
yeah, I think so. Because, I mean, let's look, right? So, Argentina, there are three fixtures: Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Poland. That's a team I want to target. Netherlands, Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal. Okay. France, they have a Denmark fixture in between. So, already okay, that's less exciting. England's group looks pretty decent. Spain and Germany both face each other in their second fixture, so that puts me off. But the Croatia-Belgium group is really interesting because Belgium play Canada, Morocco. Croatia play Canada, Morocco as well. Then only they play each other in the last week. So I think those are groups where you got first two easy fixtures. And then Brazil, we are assuming they are better than everybody in their group. Let's hope so. But they play Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon. So their fixtures, I think, get progressively easier. So also a reasonable team to target. So in terms of priority, yeah, I think you got to have triple ups. Are you scared, Sam? I'm probably gonna have like at least 2 to 3 triple ups.
I was scared, but now thinking about it, I think you're right. You have to do it. You can't play the safe way like you would in normal FPL. Because, similar to Champions League fantasy, you basically have to make your points in the group stage. Round of 16, maybe you can still get, but once you get to quarter semis, you don't get any more points because everyone's going to have the same players from the same teams. So you it's a sprint. Unlike normal FPL, where it's a marathon, in UCL and I think for World Cup, it's the same. It's a sprint, get as many points as you can during the group stage.
Yeah.
And then,
like you say, the player pool is progressively shrinking once you get to the knockout rounds. And by the time you get to the semis and even the quarterfinals itself, almost everyone is going to have the same 11 as you or largely the same. And by then you can't really do much. You're sort of just holding rank. Captaincy is your only play. And by the time you get to semis, captaincy even is probably going to be gone because it's so few fixtures. So yeah, I think group stage, go all out. You see something that maybe other people don't, that's fine too. Like I think if I had to pick... Is that okay? Your big prediction, Sam, is that you're not going any France, right? Against Australia, right? Which we'll see if you hold on to that. What else are you sort of, surprised, or what else are you going against crowds, you think, on?
I think only France. Everything else is kind of the same, Get some Argentinian players, get Neymar, get some Dutch players, get De Bruyne.
Okay, so
it's kind of the same, I think.
Okay, so you weren't so keen on England, but you said you were going to have Trippier. Now let's talk about England and defenders, right? So two people who have been in all my drafts are Trippier and Shaw, because they're both 5 million. And for me, they are the standout picks for defenders, right? Attacking. In fact, probably the only people in England who are going to do any attacking, because the way Southgate plays, like they both contributed to that, that Euros final was a Trippier assist, Shaw goal. Shaw scored recently against Germany, right? A few months ago in the 3-3. So I think for England, he's very attacking. He's also the only left back.
Yeah, exactly. He's the only left back. Trippier's the only fit right back now, although Walker might come back. But he likes to play Walker in a right centre back role. So yeah. I don't get Southgate's lineup. I mean, why did he not call up another left back? Come on, man.
Rico Henry.
Anyway, Rico Henry, or I would even go Ryan Sessegnon.
Yeah, Ryan Sessegnon.
I think it's worth a shout.
Yeah, but we're not an England pod, Sam, so we got to let that lie. But do you agree? Shaw and Trippier are good picks.
I agree. I have Trippier now, but based on our conversation that we just had 5 minutes ago, I was wary of doubling up, tripling up, but I think that is the play now, so I may do it.
Okay. Other defenders that you've been looking at?
Dumfries. I think everyone has been looking at Dumfries.
Yeah.
Although I feel like the hype is so big, he is going to disappoint. It always feels like that, right? It's like Gabriel Jesus, who at the start of the FPL season, Anyway, and then I have a bunch of forders here because that's the only way I can make my team structure, the premium structure, fit. But it's not set in stone. Things could change. Most likely they will change. So I think the defenders are quite interesting because you have really good premium defenders lots of them with really good potential for points. But at the same time, you seem to have quite a lot of good budget defenders, which has good potential. So then it's a balance between yourself, right? Like, is it worth saving that 2 mil to put it somewhere else? Because these guys look pretty good as well, you know. But then you're sacrificing on total points because no way are they going to match, the top defenders. So it's really interesting. I think people have different strategies going into it. My strategy right now is just I only got like Denzel Dumfries, Trippier, and then 3 cheap defenders. Mæhle from Denmark.
Joachim Mahler, who is really good. I mean, you say cheap, 4.5, but he's been really good.
Yeah. So exactly, that's what I mean. So you can have him for 4.5. Do you really need to spend that other 2 mil, or 1.5 mil to get a 6 million defender? So I have Mæhle, I have Matty Cash.
4 mil, Poland.
Sosa. Yeah. 4 mil Poland, decent fixtures, defensively at least, I think. And Bona Sosa, 3.5 expected to be their starting left back. So that's my defense.
Yeah, Bona
There's
Sosa plays
a lot
for
of
Croatia.
play. Yeah. So there's a lot of players I have my eye on, but you can't fit everyone in, right?
I'm really annoyed, Sam, because you and I haven't spoken all week, and that's basically my defense. I mean, this is really annoying.
Except Shaw for Matty Cash.
Yeah, but honestly, I've had cash in a lot of drafts. Like I've been playing around. You can't. Although we say there's a lot of selection, like any of us, we know enough about these players to know who are sort of the best picks. And yeah, I don't think you can run far away. Bona Sosa at 3.5, Cash at 4, Cancelo at 6. I don't want to pay 6 million for Cancelo, but I feel like I'm bringing my FPL baggage with me, because if you think about it, right, Cancelo, you want goal scoring defenders in this game, because a defender gets 7 points for a goal in this game, and you don't have bonus points, so that's pretty important. Cancelo plays Ghana in game week 1. I think that's a pretty decent fixture. He plays South Korea in the 3rd fixture, and I'd expect him to play throughout because they play Uruguay in between. So unless they clinch qualification early, which seems unlikely. And Cancelo anyway is one of the most fit guys around. I mean, 6 mil seems like a lot, but if you're looking for a proven goal-scoring defender, the kind of guy who's going to take a shot from 25 yards out just because, Cancelo's the guy.
Yeah, that's true. I've also really been looking at Jordi Alba, really enough, because I think he's still trusted to be their starting left back. And Spain, I think I got burned. So, because I think he did really well in the Euros, right? Fantasy-wise, at least. So, I feel like he could be an outside shout. Although, there's always the chance of rotation, because not that the coach won't pick him, but will he be fit enough to start 3 games in a row in such a short period of time at his age?
Yeah. I mean, because they got Gaia as well, right? So they could... And exactly. I suppose Aspi could play. I mean, that too.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I know in their strongest 11, he will start, but they can't play their strongest 11 3 games in a row. So...
No, they cannot. And I think the second fixture against Germany will put me off, right? Not that Germany are in the best form anyway, but that's a very expensive price. But then again, I am picking Cancelo, so maybe I might be wrong there. And I think Costa Rica is a guaranteed clean sheet. We talked about how teams play, and they're very, very defensive. No Brazil defenders I see in drafts. What do you think about that? In fact, and even Argentinian defenders, I see 1 or 2, but it feels like such a waste because the attack is so good.
Yeah. I don't know. Who are the Brazil defenders?
Marquinhos,
Danilo
Danilo.
Silva cannot start 3 games in a row.
Marquinhos and Danilo,
Alves.
I think, but they're not cheap. Danilo, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think Danilo is. It's definitely Danilo's not going to start.
Yeah,
but,
Danilo's... I know, but... Like, Alexandro is there, competing with Danilo.
No, Alexandro's competing with Alex Telles.
Ah, sorry. Yeah, so again, Alexandro, Alex Telles... The skill difference is low, and I don't know enough about Brazil. Maybe someone who has really analysed their squad can tell us who is a clear first choice. But when I look at it, I feel like they are so interchangeable. There's a risk that one will start one game, one won't, and then the other will start the next game.
Yeah, they're both equally bad, is what you want to say. Yeah, I agree. They both suck as much. But Danilo, I think, will start just because Dani Alves is really old, and Danilo has started most of the qualifiers. But he's 5.5 mil, and he has very poor attacking numbers for a right back. I mean, when you compare to guys who we're talking about, like Dumfries and Cancelo. So doesn't really get the pulses racing. Same thing for Argentina. None of their fullbacks have a great goal scoring or assist record. Marcos Cunha looks okay, but unlikely to start. They've got too many options on the wings. It's very unclear. Do you really want to pay 5.5? I think for Christian Romero, centre back.
Yeah, no goal threat. So I think that's what you want. For if you're gonna pay a premium, you want some goal threat. If not, you might as well just try and get one of the cheaper defenders and hope for more. For clean sheets and things like that.
Yeah. How do you feel about defenders from, let's say, less fancied countries, right? Okay, we talked about Cash because he's cheap, 4 mil. But what do you think about, say, Alphonso Davies from Canada? He's 5 mil. He does not play as a defender for Canada. He plays as an attacker. I believe he has a share of pens as well.
Interesting shout. I did not consider it. So he may be OP, but how many clean sheets are Canada going to keep in, realistically?
And you also get minus points for goals conceded. So that's one other issue, I think.
Exactly. I like Connor Roberts from Wales. But I think that's baggage from Euros because he did so well for me in Euro Fantasy. So he was in my first draft and then I swapped him for Matty Cash.
Wales is not a bad shot because the way their fixtures are arranged. I was looking more at keepers. I think Hennessy is first choice. He played the most recent games. We'll come to keepers.
Is he? Come on.
Wait, we'll come to keepers now. But Wales, in the sense that they play Iran and USA first, then only they play England. So we're talking about arrangement of fixtures, right? Stack it up, get the first two out of the way. I like that. Okay, let's talk about keepers because I see Danny Ward in a lot of drafts and he's got like 5% ownership. Danny Ward has not been the number one for Wales for some time, okay? Not since the Euros. Wayne Hennessy started all the games, well, most of the games this year, including the playoff win.
Wayne Hennessy has not played any games this year.
He played in the Carabao Cup, man. He kept a clean sheet against Spurs.
Carabao Cup. Danny Ward, however, this year started to be a starting goalkeeper for a Premier League team and is now in the form of his life. I doubted Danny Ward in FPL. I'm not going to do it now, man. Danny Ward's in my team.
I honestly think I don't agree with that. Like, I don't understand why people are so confident. We have not heard anything from the Welsh coach to suggest that he starts. This is people bringing in FPL baggage. Like, you have no reason to believe that anyone is starting, except unless you think like Rob Page plays FPL. There is no reason for you to think that anyone starts.
I mean, come on. Hennessy does not even play. That's not. Danny Ward is a starter. He wasn't a starter in previous years, hence why he was not.
Danny Ward played at Euro 2020 when he was not starting games for Leicester. I think with Wales, especially because Wales' entire squad is made up of dudes who don't necessarily play week in, week out. They got Gareth Bale, Aaron Ramsey, right? Like, I don't think you can, unless we hear something from the Welsh manager that says otherwise. Actually, I don't feel comfortable picking either of them just because we're having this conversation. Like, why pay money and get a keeper who's actually going to start?
You could do the Watt Iverson thing and have both. No. I'm joking. So the only reason why I'm doing it, I do understand your concerns, but the only reason why I'm doing it is because we have subs. We don't in FPL.
That's a fair shot. Yeah, I agree with that. So I'm thinking of the Dutch keeper. So the intern who updated the prices yesterday gave all remaining Dutch keepers 4.5 million price because they also didn't know who's starting, to be fair. And I'm not sure. I will say, having criticized you about Wales, I have no idea who's going to be the starting keeper for Netherlands. Nobody does. Remco Pasveer is 4.5 mil. He started the last two, but he's in
38, right?
He's 38 and he's in very bad form at club level, and I can see that because I saw the goal he conceded against Salah a few weeks ago for Ajax.
Has an interesting story though. Joined Ajax as their third keeper at 36. First two keepers gets injured. He comes on, plays well, becomes Ajax starter, got his first cap at 37 last year for Netherlands, and now supposedly first choice, but again, like you said, hasn't been doing so well this year. Maybe it's because he's 38. So may not be the starter anymore. I don't know
how Holland went from having we were growing up, right? They had Van der Sar, Ed de Hoy, they had Van der Gaal. I mean, they had like solid keepers, Stecklenburg, and now they can't seem to find anybody. So the other guy is Justin Bijlo from Feyenoord, who is much younger. I think he's 24 years old. Did play during qualies, so he could start again. If you hear from Van Gaal, otherwise you're gambling there. 4.5 keepers who do start: Matt Turner, USA, but they play England in their second fixture. So
Arsenal's second choice who doesn't even play in the Cups.
he was injured, but he starts for USA. He's sort of their first choice, which is I think it's interesting. I think like we can skip a bunch of keepers and just say I think for me the best picks at the price range is right at 4 mil. Rocher from Uruguay does start. He started 8 of the last 9, and I think for Uruguay's fixtures, right, 2 good fixtures for me. I think so. Ghana and South Korea. I think that's 4 mil. No harm done. Other 4 mil keepers. Actually, the Ecuador keeper. They have 2 keepers. One's 4.5. One's 4. The 4 million guy may start because we'll get lineups.
Oh, okay.
We will get lineups for Qatar, Ecuador. That's the only game we're getting lineups for, which is really annoying because the game cuts off at deadline. Like the kickoff is deadline, so you'll get the Ecuador lineup. And if the Ecuador keeper, the 4 million guy Galindez, is starting, and he's got some decent club form from what I've read. I think he saved a pen in a cup finals like 3 days ago. I read too much of this stuff, but yeah, I mean, he could start.
Yeah, you really done your research for this.
I really wish I didn't. Like you can start falling down like some sort of alley or just like reading. But yeah. So Ecuador, if they start, 4 million keeper, I take that with those fixtures, think pretty decent. The Qatar keeper is 4 million, but they've got very poor defensive record, so he wouldn't be my first choice. Going up, okay. I think 5 mil Diogo Costa, who plays for Portugal.
Is it confirmed that he will start over Jose Sa?
Yeah, ahead of Sa, yes. I mean, he only just recently displaced Patricio. Like, he wasn't playing for most of the qualifying campaign, but he played the most recent playoff, and I think from club performances, he's definitely got the role now. So I think it's his. He's got some amazing penalty saving record. Like he saved like more than 50% of the pens he's faced. Like out of 30, he saved like 12 or something. That's under 50%, but pretty high record.
Okay. I do have Costa in my team.
A lot of people do.
He's my other keeper.
Yeah, I think for 5 mil from big nation, so to speak, pretty decent. If you want a guaranteed clean sheet machine, Emi Martinez. Argentina have kept something like 13 clean sheets in their last 16. They do it for fun now. Do you want to not have an Argentina attacker is the only issue. He's 5.5. That's the only thing.
Oh, okay.
But I think if you want guaranteed clean sheets, he's the guy to go for. And good fixtures.
It's a good shout, actually. I did not consider Martinez, but I might now.
Yeah, if you're not going for a third Argentinian attacker, I think Emi Martinez.
Is Emi Martinez Damian Martinez?
Apparently that is his real or birth or I don't know, his whatever.
No wonder. I was like, I don't see any Emi Martinez looking at this film. I realized there's a guy called Damien here. Who's Damien?
It's Thursday evening, by the way. They still haven't added Kasper Schmeichel to the game, so I have no idea when that's going to happen.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's very.
Why is he called Damien?
Okay, I don't know. Okay. All right. So I think we've
I was looking at Unai Simon, by the way. Again, I think Spain will be really solid defensively and really under the radar because no one seems to be talking about Spain. Although there is that Germany game in the middle, but like you said, Germany themselves not been the best past few years.
They were really poor against Oman. I don't know how much you can draw from a friendly, but they were bad. I mean, really bad.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Unai Simon may be a good shout.
It's not too bad. How do you feel about Pickford? Since we are so, I think I've made you more bullish about English defense than you want it to be. How do you feel about Pickford and the fact England play Iran in the first game of the day, and I read an article today that says the Welsh players had to cancel training because it was too hot for them. So how much do you care about heat, Sam, and temperatures now?
Well, Luke Shaw's 5, Trippier's 5, and Pickford's 5.5. So I'd rather double up, yeah. Plus, I really don't want Pickford to start. I really want Nick Pope to have a chance. I love Pope, man. He's not going to. Even Ramsdale, I do like Ramsdale.
No, I do not like Ramsdale. I mean, I'm an Arsenal fan. I don't know why you like him.
Why? But Pickford will start. I know that, but I wish Southgate will give the other guys a chance because I do love Pope and Ramsdale.
Yeah. Okay, so I think in our sort of roundabout way, we have covered most of the people we want to talk about. So, I mean, this is just...
Whoa, why is Edouard Mendy 5.5? That's crazy. Man, the pricing... Okay. Sorry, Siva. Continue.
Yeah, Courtois 6. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just having fun here, I think. All right, so Chip, Sam, have you thought about when you're going to play them? We mentioned it briefly while we were talking. Have you given it much thought?
No.
Good. Okay, so I've given it some thought, so maybe I'll tell you what I've thought about it. Okay, we're all, there's some guesswork here. I like the 12th man in match day 1. Now, the reason for that is because you have France v Australia, Argentina v Saudi Arabia, Spain v Costa Rica, England v Iran. So there's enough big teams facing weaker nations that I think having a 12th man, get a premium attacker or somebody who is, has got one really good fixture who you can't pick in your existing team. So for me, I'm going Mbappe because he's quite expensive, but you could be anybody. You can even take Ronaldo against Ghana, just an example. But I think match day 1 is a good time to play this chip because big teams have good fixtures. They all have harder fixtures in the second week. So I think if you're going to use this, use it in match day 1. That's my thought. The only thing is, once you activate this chip, you can't deactivate it. So this is a game that requires commitment like you will not believe.
Do you activate it already, Siva?
No, I have been very careful, but I am going to do it probably tomorrow or something, so I don't forget.
Okay.
I'm
looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Continue, Siva. Continue.
Well, the other chip is Power Captain. And Power Captain basically is when you don't know who to captain, they will automatically captain your highest scoring player. There's a lot of different theories. I think some people say keep this towards the later rounds because when it's a bit of like let's say a final, right? Luke Shaw scores the only goal. You probably wouldn't have captained him, so Power Captain's a good chip to have.
Harry Maguire scores the only goal.
Harry Maguire scores the only goal. That does feel a bit defensive to me, though, I will say. Like, I don't really want to wait until the final to use my chips. And how much gain would you get in a 1-0 or a 0-0? I do like the idea of using it, say, in match day 3, where there'll be a lot of randomness, I think, a lot of rotation. Can't really plan for that. So I like that idea. True. Because a lot of the big teams will have qualified.
Do you not want to wildcard in match day 3?
This will depend on how bad my team needs a wildcard. I will say one thing about wildcard, right? I'm praying I don't have to use it in match day 3. I will use it if I have to, but I did this in the Euros, and what happened was I wildcarded in match day 3, then you get unlimited transfers in round 16, right? And I had 4 Netherlands players, and they got knocked out. And
it's the eggs in baskets, man.
Yeah, the eggs in baskets gets really bad once in the last 16, because then I went into the qualies with half of my best players all gone. So, yeah. I would like to save the wildcard if possible, but that is a defensive strategy. I mean, if I got to use it in match day 3, I'm flexible.
Yeah, I would use mine in match day 3. I think I learned that from fantasy, Champions League fantasy, where I tried to keep it more defensive, kind of like how we play FPL. I only use it once we need, but I realized last year that by not using it in the group stage, I missed out on a lot of points and I can't catch them up once you get to the knockouts. Yeah. So I'm planning to do wildcard in gaming match day 3. I kind of agree with the school of thought that you should save Power Captain for later on because, like you said, it gets really unpredictable. And once you reach that stage, everyone has the same players. Captaincy is the only way you can jump up the rank. Yeah. So, yeah, I think I'll save the Power Captain. And 12th man, I don't like using a match day 1 because there's simply no data. I don't know who's on form and stuff. I would like to have a bit more info, so maybe match day 2 for me.
Fair. I do think, and you mentioned Power Captain later stages, I think that's really important. Like, I have no interest in playing Power Captain now because almost everybody has a good fixture on each day and you can move it manually. So, I mean, trust yourself, right? Bank yourself to try and get a decent haul. And something else, I think let's just wrap up here. But one thing, drafts are going to keep changing. It's pointless, I show you my draft, you show me your draft. We'll change it 20 times now. But one thing I did want to mention was I like the idea of having riskier picks to start off with and safer picks as you go along. So, we talked about Bergwijn, for example, or maybe Shaw or something. I think as you progressively go on, so like I have Neymar as my final day kind of guy. Or if captaincy, if you can switch it, he'd be my sort of fail safe. And I like that idea. I'll captain Trippier to begin with, and if that fails, by the end of the week, I'll be at Neymar. So that's the most safe, boring option. And I think that's how you should sort of allocate your risk.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so I think nothing else from us. We'll figure out. Sam, we'll try and do a match day 2 preview. If we can, if match day 1 goes well enough that we still care about the game next week. We'll see.
What's the time we have in between?
Oh, it's I think we have like about, I would say, close to a week. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah. In the meantime, join our
Maybe
league if you
you
haven't done
guys, yeah, you guys are listening. Hop on our Twitter if you do want Matchday to pod. If the replies are overwhelmingly positive, then yeah, we'll set aside some time to do it.
Yeah, and if they're overwhelmingly negative, we'll probably still do it, but we'll just feel a lot worse about it. But yeah, I guess in the meantime, I guess they're
Do we
green
have
arrows.
green arrows in this game? I don't know. Will there be
don't know.
green arrows?
It's been a while since I've seen a green arrow, mate.
We don't know what color the arrows are gonna be.
I don't know. It's FIFA. We'll find out. Maybe you have to paste. Oh, okay. I've probably stopped. Okay. Well, see you all next week, I guess.
Alright. Cheers guys, enjoy the World Cup. Bye.